journalist, Rachel Gilmore. Man, that girl gets fired so much. What was her last firing? CTV fact
Fact
checker.
checker. Yeah.
It's CT. She did complain. She had a big complaint about that. She testified at the Status of Women Committee yesterday on
Again?
anti-feminist. Yeah,
Again, like,
on anti-feminism.
do they have no other women that they can call to this committee, or is it just Rachel Gilmore and her friends?
Her friend, what did I call them? A couple of dusty old crones. Um, all they do is complain. You can see that their rhetoric is distinctly anti-man.
Mm.
Like, I don't even think that they're feminist per se, because I've cut a clip where it's very clear that they don't actually care about vulnerable women who are suffering from domestic violence when the statistics were pointed out to them. They just said, well, white men do that, which actually the statistics don't play that out. But yes, she was testifying at the Status of Women Committee on anti-feminist rhetoric. And there was at one point where she talked about like fitness influencers being the gateway drug to, I don't know, getting your insulin right. Like, I don't know what she was complaining about. She basically said like, if you sort of get into the fitness sphere, where that's where a lot of my algorithm takes me on a lot of days, that is a gateway to anti-feminist violence.
Hmm. Is
Anyway.
that right?
Yeah, and then she's complained that if you are anti-DEI, it's the stupidest thing ever.
Okay.
Her entire appearance was DEI. Like, she's there simply because of DEI
D
at this
D
at the
D
DEI committee.
uh, DEI is based on a socialist construct, and
Right,
everywhere socialism has been applied, it's failed. Everywhere
right.
that DEI has been applied, it's failed. And Rachel Gilmore, a DEI hire, if ever there was one, says what about
Yeah.
it?
DEI
She's defending it.
witness.
Of course she is. Of course she is defending it. Her job is on the line if she can't save it. So let's go, Rachel. Let's
Well,
hear
and
what
she
you have
also
to say.
complained that she was fired because of anti-feminist rhetoric instead of just her generally being bad at everything she does, including
Bad
articulating
takes.
her viewpoints. This is her saying DEI is the being anti-DEI is the stupidest thing ever.
Is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. You're opposing diversity and
Yeah.
equity and
You're
inclusion.
opposing
Why?
socialism.
What is wrong with any of those things? I think that there's a fundamental misunderstanding of how DEI operates in Canada
No,
as
we get
well.
it. That's why we're
tend
against it.
not to use quotas, which is the aspect that is often attacked as, privileging certain groups over others. What we tend to do is just do audits of workplaces to ensure that everyone is
And then
having
what?
equality of opportunity. And I think that to attack these
And then
notions
what?
is a dog whistle to the worst elements of society that are seeing a slide towards a more fascistic world, and every politician who engages in that should be ashamed of themselves. Anti-DEI is one of the stupidest.
Okay,
Okay.
anybody
Yeah, go
that
ahead.
defends DEI should be ashamed of themselves because DEI stands for didn't earn it. In every single circumstance where somebody participates or somehow co-signs a DEI initiative, especially a taxpayer-funded initiative, is co-signing an absolute egregious waste of taxpayer funds. And if you guys don't think that this is a problem in Canada, some estimates say that upwards of 30% of public institutions' budgets are going towards DEI initiatives, whether this be women empowerment groups, whether this be gender and diversity groups, whether this be Indigenous and reconciliation groups. That's also under the DEI
Yep.
umbrella. There is 30% of the public workforce that is employed because of DEI. And yeah, they don't want it to end. Of course they wouldn't. They'd have to get off their gravy train, wouldn't they? They'd have to be accountable, wouldn't they? And this is something that these people just cannot fathom.
I'm glad you bring up the sheer number of DEI executives. This is not DEI staffers either. Um, this is from Blacklocks, although I wrote up a version of the same order paper question because I focused on the CRA, who couldn't necessarily tell
Sure.
me how much money they were spending on DEI. And I'm like, but you want to know my receipts down to the penny.
What do you mean you don't know?
What
You
do
don't
you mean?
have an
I'll just
accounting
try
this.
that. I'll try that at my audit. Thank you.
Mhm.
When I'm like, I don't know. It feels like they basically said, I don't know. It feels like it would be a lot of work for us to get those numbers. I'm going to try that. Try that when you're filing your taxes, guys, with the CRA.
I'm gonna try. We'll do our best.
We'll do our best. Federal departments last year assigned almost 600 employees to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, records show. Cabinet acknowledged the figure, however, was incomplete since numerous departments declined to report how many managers worked on representation goals. So this is just like a snippet.
Oh, a tiny, tiny fraction
Like the
of the number
Department of
that are
Immigration.
actually doing these work. This
Yeah.
work.
So, and it's major parts of the government didn't give the numbers. So the RCMP, Department of Health, Justice, Natural Resources, Public Works, Environment, and Immigration. And Foreign Affairs actually said there were just too many of them to count.
That is a deadweight bureaucracy that must be cut off. The end. DEI or DEI related in a public institution, the governments should be defunding everything to do with DEI. Okay, if you have it in your job description, if it's part of your scope of work, DEI work, away you go. You're dead weight. Bye, gone. Don't need you. You don't contribute to the mandates of any of these organizations. You're wondering how organizations lost their public trust over the years? Trust in public institutions went down as acceptance of DEI went up.
Right.
So there's a direct correlation.
Right, because you feel like everyone you're talking to on the other end of the line at the CRA is not there because they actually understand how a calculator works, but rather they're there to meet some sort of quota.
Yeah.
And when Rachel Gilmore says, we don't actually do quotas, we do audits. Yeah, but then what do you do with the audits? You look at it and you say, we didn't check enough boxes here. Let's adjust our hiring protocols.
Sheila,
You're not auditing for no reason.
So I'm actually digging into this on the Saskatchewan side because I am absolutely on fire with the amount of money that our public institutions are spending on DEI. And so what they do with those audit numbers. So once a year, along comes your public institution in Saskatchewan. It could be, SaskTel or Sask Power or Sask Energy. And they say to the employees, take this survey. So the employees take the survey, 15 or so questions, just takes a couple minutes. And then what they do is they aggregate the results and submit them for phony diversity awards that they then use as a HR tactic, as a recruiting tool to recruit more DEI people. So just for instance,
don't you want to work for us? Don't you want to work for us? We employ an acclaimed LGBTQ plus children's author.
Yes. I'm a diversity hire, guys. I'm a diversity hire. But what they've actually shown me without telling me, because they do not want you to know how much money is being spent on DEI, but what they will do is brag about how long they've been doing it. So one Saskatchewan institution is out loud and proud on the internet being like, for 17 years in a row, we've been voted one of the most diverse workplaces in Canada. It's like, thanks, guys. Now you're giving me an idea of how long you haven't been doing your jobs.
Right.
Thanks so much. Like the waste over 17 years, incalculable. And all of this has to be defunded, all of it. And it could be solved just like that. Just like that. Snip, snip, guys. Snip, snip.